Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I'm at my favourite little place here on George Street. I'm at the little train stop for the light rail, waiting for the light rail to come through to take me down to Circular Quay. It's Friday, a bit of a breeze blowing, but what I've noticed today is the homeless lady who normally resides over there on the corner of Jamieson Street and George Street is not here. And I noticed yesterday afternoon when I was leaving work that she wasn't there either. Everything's been packed up and everything looks really, really neat. The bed's done and cleaned, and there are no cats anywhere to be seen and no life. So I'm not sure what's happening there. I'll just keep you posted because she's been there for a number of years. As I said, not quite sure. But anyway, what we'll do today is I'll do something a little bit different. We'll go on a walk and talk, but today's topic is going to be a favourite of mine. Last night I had the honour of going to the cinemas there on Norton Street, because there was a premiere screening of a movie which is coming out on the 27th of May called King Otto. King Otto. What would King Otto be about? But if you're a Greek, you will know who King Otto is. And the modern King Otto is no other than Otto Rehagel. Otto Rehagel was the German coach who was the head coach of the Greek national team for the 2004 Euro Cup campaign. He's German. Otto Rehagel was German, and he only spoke German. He didn't speak English, and he didn't speak Greek. So how was a German coach going to fare in Greece? He was a distinguished coach and a distinguished player, so he proved himself as a coach in his country. And as we said, he had some tremendous skills. I'll just go up the front here. He had some tremendous skills. And it was all interesting in terms of how he was going to fit in to the Greek culture. So the movie was a documentary on how Otto Rehagel worked with the Greek team to achieve one of the greatest sporting outcomes in the history of football. I learnt a lot watching this movie last night, things that I wasn't aware of, but also things that tugged at my heart and things that a lot of Greeks could relate to. They talked about the fact that the Greek national team over history hadn't been all that successful, and that players weren't proud and weren't ever looking forward to representing their country, to the point where not only were they not proud, but they were also fearful of the responsibility, much so that the spectators, the Greeks themselves, were ashamed of their national team.
This stop is Circular Quay.
And the reason why the national team weren't able to perform was for, I guess, a number of reasons. Culturally, we Greeks have some quirks. We're pretty quirky when it comes to our culture and our DNA. And a lot of that was highlighted in this movie. And they said that the Greeks in general, we can talk about Greeks in general, basically enjoy life. We're very, very emotional. We're an emotional race of people. We have a lust for enjoying life, enjoying each other's company, and basically that in itself causes, I guess, a cognitive dissonance where the way you see yourself, the way you see your history, and then the way you see your performance don't align. And I know that, for a Greek, if they're not engaged, they're not interested, then they're not going to perform. But Otto Rehagel was called upon by the manager of the national team, who seems to be a huge personality, a person who believes in his Greek history, a person who believes in the Greek psyche and the Greek capability, but wanted to translate, I guess, Greek history and the essence of who we Greeks are into a modern day phenomenon. So what he did with his leadership was to bite the bullet and to try something different. And to try something different meant to think outside the square. And what he found was a coach in Germany who had won 3 national titles, was as I said before, a distinguished player. And he called him up and invited him to come to Greece to coach the national team. And Otto Rehagel said that in his career he's basically done everything. So he chatted with his wife, and he knew that the lifestyle in Greece was good, and he just wanted to do something different. And they didn't give him the opportunity to be the national coach in Germany, so I guess he had his nose out of joint. So he accepted the offer and took over the responsibility of being the national coach of the Greek team. But he had one big problem, one big challenge, that he, being German, was very, very disciplined, and he expected his players to be disciplined. So he laid down the law, saying, this is who I am, this is how I operate, and this is how things are going to get done under my leadership. But one of the challenges was that even though we had a house in Greece, they provided him with a beautiful house in Greece, he spent most of his time in Germany, and he'd be popping over on the plane to oversee the coaching responsibilities of the Greek team. And during one of the first qualifying matches, or the pre-matches, the story goes that the Greek team got thrashed. The first match that he was the coach of the national team, they got thrashed, they got humiliated. And this is where Rehagel says that the Greeks are the sort of people who can, in one breath, lift you up to the sky and make you a god, and in another breath they can bury you under the ground because we are so emotional. So he understood that the Greeks were very, very different from Germans and from the Northern Europeans. So what he decided to do was to stick it out. The manager of the team bit the bullet and said that Otto Rehagel has been selected and will continue as a coach, even though everybody wanted him to be kicked out, given the poor performance of the national team at that first match. But I think the big game changer, from my perspective, the big game changer that I learnt last night was that Greece, or Rehagel, saw his strengths and his weaknesses, but he also saw the strength in the Greek team and his players, and he brought on board an assistant coach who was Greek but had been born in Germany, so he could speak both German and Greek, and he would act as the interpreter and the translator for Otto Rehagel. And it was funny. It was funny to hear him talk, because it was like listening to a scene out of the movie, that magnificent movie, My Beautiful Life. Because Rehagel was very, very blunt, very, very direct, very, very German, very precise in his communication style. And yet the assistant coach, whose name I can't remember, but what I'll do is I'll try and find it, because for me, his story is probably the standout story from this movie. And what he would do is he would take Otto Rehagel's commentary or directions, and then he would shape them in a way that would bring out the best in the Greek players. So Rehagel would say that, I can't use you as a player because you're far too bloody slow. But the assistant coach would shape it in a way to make it positive and to lift, and to make it an opportunity to lift the player. And that happened throughout the whole contest. So the assistant coach played, from my perspective, an important, pivotal role in this whole campaign. Anyway, so the movie goes through and just talks about the games and the lead up and the ridicule that Otto would receive from the media and the world, because Greece were never considered a soccer nation. But slowly but surely, the players started to gain belief in their capabilities and in themselves. And Otto Rehagel did something which was very, very strategically important. He said he didn't have the best players in the world. He didn't have the best team in the world. But what he wanted to do was to make the most out of the skills, the strengths that he had. So because he didn't have a powerful attacking team, what he did was he focused on his defence. Because he said that, I just want to score a goal or two, but I don't want to have more than a goal or two scored against us. So he built his game plan upon defence, and then they'd rebound with attack and just make the most of the opportunities as and when they presented themselves. As I watched, I remembered, and it brings tears to my eyes. Sorry about that. I get emotional. It's probably one of the highlights of my life, that Angelo Charisteas, the number of goals that he scored, the number of spectacular goals that he scored, and I guess still is unrecognised in world soccer, just amazes me. But Otto Rehagel gave his team belief. They started to believe in themselves. And in that opening game, they played Portugal in Portugal, and the stand was just chock-a-block with Portuguese who were going absolutely crazy. Their colours were everywhere. And the Greeks beat them in that first game. I remember watching that first game and rubbing my eyes. Anyway, the way the story goes is Greece drew and lost the last game in those qualification matches, and it looked like Greece were not going to make it through. However, Portugal thrashed Spain, which gave Greece an entry into the next level, into the next round. I remember watching Greece playing France and seeing the powerhouse France, who were the world champions, who were the previous Euro Cup champions, and nobody ever expected that Greece would match it with France, with all those magnificent names. And yet, Haristes found the back of the net. And I remember being at home and just cheering, and then picking up the phone and just wildly calling friends and sending SMSs as if we'd won the final. Anyway, sorry about this. But then we played the Czech Republic. And the Czech Republic, as Otto Rahagel said, were by far the best team in the competition. They were going to thrash us. They were all over us like a rash. They were peppering the goals left, right and centre. And yet, we took them to extra time. And in extra time, Delas, the fullback, Delas who? The fullback, scores a miracle goal at extra time. And I was at Johnny D's place with Paula and the kids, and we were celebrating. We just couldn't believe our luck. We made it into the final. I've got tears streaming down my face. I'm sorry. But this is one of those events that I can never forget in my life. We were in the final, and that last week we were going down to Brighton. There were cars spinning their tyres. There were flags everywhere. And actually, my youngest daughter wasn't with me for that. She was in Greece. At 14 years of age, we'd sent Artemis to Greece. We used to send our kids to Greece all the time to spend time with their aunties. Either we were with them, or if we couldn't afford to be with them, we'd send them on their own to Greece. So Artemis was in Greece for the semi-final. And then at the final there, we were at Johnny D's place. And that goal by Haristes, we just went absolutely crazy. Anyway, we won the Euro, went crazy. But my daughter was in Athens for the final. And my brother-in-law, Bubby, says, Adi Ella, Pame. He got her, she was 14 years of age, popped her on the back of his big motorbike, put a big flag in her hand, and they went into Athens all the way to Omonia Square, where Greece was absolutely erupting, going crazy. It was a moment in time where I felt euphoria, where I guess every Greek throughout the world united as one, and we had one breath, one cheer, one heartbeat, and it was probably the most exciting time of my life. And I'm sure that the story that I'm saying here is replicated throughout the Greek diaspora and the Greeks in Greece, because 2004 was a magic year. It was a year we had the Olympics. We proved to the world with the Olympics, with the opening ceremony, that Greece, the minnow was capable of doing anything and everything. Anyway, I remember a few years later going to Greece and going to Mykonos, and we were there on one of the famous beaches, and I saw Fissas and a couple of the players, and I just looked at them and I said, these guys, absolute gods. I just revered them. I even remember Fissas was wearing a fuchsia coloured board shorts, and once again, for me, that was the golden year, the golden moment for modern Greece, and I love it and I respect it. And whoever can get to go and see the movie, the movie will be playing from the 27th at the cinemas. I was very, very fortunate to get tickets last night, and a group of us went. But go see it. I'll be seeing it again because I loved it so much. But I'll leave it there for now. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I'm well, I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable. And most importantly, believe in yourself. The Greeks were a 330 to 1 chance to win, which meant out of a group of 32 teams, they had no chance whatsoever of winning, but they got up and did the impossible because the coach believed in them, the assistant coach believed in them, and slowly but surely they believed in themselves. Anyway, wow, what an emotional roller coaster that was. I've still got tears, my face is moist from the crying. But as I say, I can't control this. I'm a person, I've got emotions, and I guess ever since my mother passed away 21 years ago, I do allow those emotions to freely bubble to the surface. I don't try and restrict them or hide them anymore. But that's it. So thank you very much. Daleme, I'm off to work, and wishing you all the very best for the rest of the week. Bye for now. Ciao.